Hello Intuitors, it's Aria here and welcome to the Intuit Cafe. My plan in the weeks and the months ahead is to release a weekly reading by the sign of the zodiac, and in that reading I'll start out with a card spread that will give me like kind of a story, what the situation is, and then I'll be asking what are the blocks, what are the things that are preventing this situation from moving forward. Then at the end of that, you're going to have the opportunity to choose from 4 different action outcomes that might be the possible guidance for you at this time. And this is where I really am excited about giving you the opportunity to learn and hone your own intuition, to pick a reading that will either at that time help you know what's the best course of action to take or what's a course of action to avoid. Another way that you can use the readings at the end is if you're watching it and you're wondering what someone of that sun sign might end up doing at that time, then you can set the intention that whatever reading that you're guided to watch will be the most likely action or outcome that they take at this time, and it can kind of give you some insights on how things might progress in the future. So the way I view divination and utilizing your intuition to find or divine the kinds of information that are brought forth in readings like this is that basically once the reading is created, it's in the collective consciousness to an extent. And it has a specific frequency based on whatever it contains. So whatever frequency you yourself are tuned into at that time is like a certain trajectory. It's the direction that you're headed. And I really believe that as time goes on and you start learning how to tune into your own intuition, you truly will have the opportunity to attract the reading that has the most pertinent information for you at that time. And the same thing also works if you're watching this reading in regards to someone else. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, so this whole scenario really matches up to I know what's happening, but I don't have any control over what actions they take. And then you're asking your higher knowing to show you the reading that has the most likely match to where their frequency is at this time. And that's why you can end up getting a message that will be predictive of their next move. That rather than just saying, here's a general reading for everybody, it's saying, here's a starting point for everyone who's watching. If that starting point doesn't match up for you at this time, then maybe go watch a different sign of the zodiac, maybe your moon or your rising sign. But if it does resonate with you at this time, then you have the opportunity to pick the action or the outcome that are most in tune with where your trajectory is headed based on the frequency you're at. Now, without any further ado, let's get right into today's reading. All right, Libra, so here's your weekly reading, and I will say that this message has kind of got a lot of heavy energy to it. So if you're starting to listen to it and it does not resonate with you at this time, then I encourage you to go watch your moon or your rising sign instead. But I do know that this message is out there for someone who does need to hear it, so I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. And of course, there's always a solution and an outcome that can be achieved in any negative situation. So I do know that these readings will come up at times because there really is something that needs to be addressed. So first of all, we'll talk about the moon and the clouds, and this talks about illusions and delusions, as well as other kinds of emotional issues, and really having a lot of confusion around your feelings, because the moon is about feelings, the clouds is confusion. So you're feeling confused about your feelings, or perhaps aren't sure about how you feel towards someone. Because we have the ring in the center, it does look like it has something to do, very much something to do with relationships, engagements, and commitments with someone, or with people, maybe a family member, maybe a loved one, maybe a relationship of a love nature. It would be different for different people. But because the moon and the clouds come up, it does suggest that you may have lost touch with reality or not seeing things as they really are. There is one side of that that actually is positive, in that because these are illusions and delusions, if you're really thinking extremely negatively, it could actually indicate that perhaps you're thinking far more negatively than the situation warrants. So you're not being fully in touch with reality in that way is a good thing, in that you're like, you know what, it's not as bad as you think it is. And so because of that, and especially because we don't see other negative cards in this spread, there's not a sense here to me that there's really something that negative going on. It's more just you just have a lot of stuff coming up right now that's hard to deal with. And so I'm hoping that what's going to happen here is we'll get some insights that will give you, make you feel more positive about it. So the ring and the clouds together do talk about something having, in some way, connections, engagements, or this commitment with someone is experiencing some difficulty and some trouble. And emotionally, like there's like emotional heaviness to this that is kind of like weighing on you at this time. So definitely something to watch out for here as we kind of go further into this. The good news is that we have the scythe, and the scythe it mirrors the clouds, and so there will be a cutting away or a sudden, like the clouds I feel like will melt away very suddenly, or will be cut away. The confusion gets cut away from this situation, so you do then end up seeing more clearly what is really what's really going on at the core issue here in this, regards to this relationship. The ring and the garden together can definitely talk about some kind of commitment being offered or made. It actually has a specific meaning in some cases of actual proposal or engagement and a proposal for marriage. If not, it could be like some kind of proposal regarding something with work or proposing to another person. The proposal doesn't necessarily mean engagement, which may not necessarily mean marriage. So there's different ways those words can be interpreted for you, but they're also just the garden by itself does suggest a meeting, and then with the scythe it talks about a sudden meeting, like suddenly coming together. Like I feel for some of you this is going to be a person this is about between you and someone, and suddenly you have this opportunity to meet them. The moon is an invitation, and the moon is also about recognition. So there's something when you have this invitation that you then recognize perhaps the truth of the situation. So then, when it comes away from the clouds here, and we're just looking at it in regards to the garden, the moon has a very beautiful energy, and saying, perhaps it even is a meeting at night, but you come together with this person, you get, more clarity about the situation that helps you work through the clouds, that are clouding your mind. Let's go ahead and take a look at the cards, what areas these are in. The clouds is in the area of communication, messages, notes. So it could be for some of you that there were some kind of messages that went back and forth that were confusing in nature. And it could even be that this confusion and this illusion, actually, it's just simply an illusion because it was misunderstood either by you or the other person. So meeting them actually clears this up. The invitation or the moon is in the house of the child. The child and the moon together actually talk about fertility. And so this even could be like there's an opportunity, like a fertile opportunity for change, for growth. Something in this situation is actually quite fertile and promising in that regard. Watch out for pregnancy for those of you who do want to get pregnant or don't want to. Keep that in mind because it also can indicate that. So the commitment, a man comes up here, and I feel this either is you or a person you're connected with, and so we're definitely looking at some kind of relationship, whether it's a love relationship or not, might vary with different people. The garden is in the house of the scythe, so again, it's just kind of the same thing. It's just saying it's going to happen very suddenly, a very sudden meeting, a very sudden recognition, and the scythe is in the house of love or the heart. So the scythe, again, it can be about, cutting and saying that the love, maybe there is something about love here that was very cutting and it hurt your heart, like it could be heartbreak. It also could be about a love that just suddenly, suddenly you get highlighted. It gets sudden recognition or, sudden attention or, very quickly all of a sudden something to do with the heart comes up in this whole setting. So I will say that there's a high potential for a lot of you who are watching this that it does have something to do with love. So if you have any questions about what you might be able to do, or if this is someone else you're watching it about, what they might be doing in this situation, what would be the action and the outcome, set your intention when you pick one of the 4 readings that are in the, as soon as we get to the end of this video, there's going to be 4 that you choose from. You can choose any one or watch all 4 of them if you like. And set the intention that whichever one you watch will be, you know, for that intention. If you're wanting it to say, what should I do in this situation? Or if you want to say, what will they likely do in this situation? Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you around next week.